My name is Grin. Full name Grin Broken Fang Iron Claw Lampwick Stealer. HR said it was too long. They didn't know those 4 words they cut out were my family tree. I'm 1.2 meters tall, but on my resume I put 1 fix 5. Thanks to a pair of custom-made height-increasing insoles. Hidden under a round hat. It took me 3 years to filtrate the human world. I learned your language, your smiles, the strength of your handshakes, using a fake degree and a recommendation letter from back home. I applied for a financial analyst position at Oasis Energy. On the interview day, the CFO Anderson, bald, gold-rimmed glasses, tall and thin, looked at my resume, then at me. Your skin looks a little green. Anemia. I've had it since childhood. When you talk, why don't your lips move? Ventrism. It looks more professional. Do you know Excels? Even though back home I had only used something similar to Excels, a Goblin table made with stones and charcoal. Yes, I knew VLOOKUP. Start tomorrow. Salary $6,000 a month.
6,000?
Too little? It's fine. But can I have a small room by myself? I'm sensitive to light. I need a bit darker. The basement. There's a storage room there, unused. Perfect. I almost jumped. The basement, dark, filled with old files, old printers, old furniture. There would be so many parts. Forgotten, discarded, waiting to be reclaimed. The light dimmed. I took off my hat and removed the insoles. My skin turned green again beneath the foundation. I crouched down and pulled out the first thing, a rusty stapler.
Hello. You are now recycled.
I took the stapler apart, removing the press plate and the sickle tray. The parts made faint clinking sounds in my palm like they were answering. In that moment I suddenly realized my first friends in the human world were not humans, but parts. First day at work. The finance department was on the 8th floor, flooded with sunlight, too bright for me. I sat in the corner. The colleague next to me was Lisa, around 30 with her hair up, black-rimmed glasses and short nails, who types a lot.
This last quarter's port. See which items can be adjusted.
The numbers were dense. Negative profit of $23 million. Sales were down 12%. Costs rising. Procurement, labor, logistics, all up. The company is losing.
Anderson wants us to turn the loss into a small profit.
How?
We don't cook the books, we adjust the scope, depreciation methods, revenue recognitions, add debt provisions.
That's not fraud?
Call it financial optimization.
I looked at the numbers, then at her. As she spoke, her hands stayed on the keyboard, not looking at me, looking at the screen. Like all humans, she used the screen as a barrier. I took the report. I looked at it the Goblin way, not checking if the numbers were right, but looking for surplus parts. Procurement bought too much. Logistics routes overlapped. HR's concluded high temperature allowance, low temperature allowance, and neither hot nor cold allowance. All those allowances together could buy thousands of paper clips. I started disassembling, taking apart the report like an old stapler, breaking expenses into parts, reassembling them, spreading the loss across different line items until it was as small as dust and visible to auditors. 3 days later, I gave the new report to Lostron, had become a $170,000 profit. As Anderson read the report, his fingers at the corner of the page for 3 full seconds.
How did you do that?
The parts reassemble method.
What?
Break down expenses, see which parts are reassembled. He closed the report, didn't ask further. He just gave me a slow, reassessing look and said, "Continue." After he left, I sat at my desk and reached into my pocket. Inside were 3 paper clips fallen off Lisa's desk. She hadn't noticed. I wouldn't return them. They clinked softly in my pocket, a sound I knew better than any other. It was metal speaking, and I was listening. I whispered a sentence in Goblin, "You are here now." That was their first complete sentence in this world. By the 3rd week, I had collected a drawer full of parts. Paper clips, staples, a broken USB drive, a calculator missing 5 pens that wouldn't write, 3 magnets. They were all the bottom of the drawer, lined on old paper, neatly arranged, by size, by material, by degree of silence.
Grin, what's that sound in your drawer?
Old files.
Do old files clink?
Metal backmarks. She didn't press further. But as she walked away, her steps slowed. Not suspicion, curiosity. That afternoon, Anderson called a finance department meeting. He stood in front of the whiteboard and wrote, Q3 target, profit. We've completed the adjustments. Well done, especially Grin. I sat in the corner, bending 2 paper clips into hooks, then rings. Anderson saw them. He paused, but said nothing. After the meeting, I went back to the basement. The door was locked. I opened it with a bent paper clip. It was my 37th night there. Inventory check, 127 paper 6 staplers, keyboard, mouse, gears, cables, all waiting to be reassembled. I built a small shelf in the corner, stacked from cardboard boxes. On it, the sorted parts. Those things don't speak, but goblins can hear their voices. Iron says I'm still here. Copper says I can be reused. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. Through the crack in the door, a pair of eyes watching me. Lisa's eyes. Her hand rested on the doorpost, fingers tightening slightly, knuckles white. She wasn't catching me red-handed. She was confirming that what she saw wasn't an illusion. The door swung open. Lisa stood in the doorway, phone in hand. The screen was on recording.
Grin, what are you doing?
Organizing old archives. She looked down. On the cardboard shelf behind me, paper clips, keyboards, mouse, all collected from around the company. She saw how they were arranged, not haphazardly, but sorted, labeled, waiting.
You stole them?
Not stealing, recycling.
Recycling. You took apart the company's printer.
I took apart a scrap printer. It had been in the warehouse 3 years, no one used it.
But it's still company property.
It was going to be thrown to a landfill. I didn't make it disappear, I just gave it a different form. Lisa stood there. The phone screen was still lit, her fingers from not fear but not hesitation about whether to keep recording, then Lisa, are you going to tell anyone?
Why do you ask?
Because I'm asking you. She looked down. Her gaze fell on the bent paperclip in my hand. I twisted it into a tiny ring, its curve perfect.
You can turn things back, not make them disappear. I'll tell Anderson you're in his archives, nothing else.
Thank you.
You don't need to thank me. Grin, how did you bend that paperkin so perfectly round?
I straightened out its memory. She left. The door closed. I crouched in the gap in the shelf in the wall, moving for a long time. My fingers touched a metal spring, feeling a faint tremor, the response of someone who's been understood as the temperature drops. In the 4th week, I submitted the 2nd quarter adjustment vote. This time it wasn't a small profit, it was a net profit of $2,300,000. Green, what method did you use? I took apart every expenditure generated no value.
For example,
Among travel reimbursements, there was an intercity transportation convenient allowance. 500 who take the subways claimed it. I pulled it out.
you canceled it.
Didn't cancel. Reclassified under employee benefits. Auditors don't look beneficially treated as a fixed expense.
You're exploiting Los?
No, I'm reassembling. Do you know how I see you?
No.
I see you as someone who makes numbers look good in strange ways.
Will you let me continue?
Grin. Under your desk, isn't there a stapler missing?
What?
My stapler. It went missing last week.
Maybe it was taken to another department by mistake. I'll find it for you.
Alright. I went back to my desk and turned the stapler to Anderson's table, but I had already taken it apart. Its internal structure, I knew how many springs it had, how many pivots, how it clamped, I had learned its shape. That was a kind of knowledge that could be kept without keeping the object. The next day Anderson used it to staple documents. As he pressed down, his thumb paused on the top for an instant. He felt something, the smooth edges, the recalibrated precision of the spring. He didn't say a word, but the parts inventory in the basement began to expand. I was collecting more carclings, distorter hard drives, fonder stands, keyboards with missing key. I built a small show in the basement. Using old printer parts, I assembled some parts. I made a conveyor belt that could automatically parts into different boxes. I called it Grin's Workshop. Goblins need workshops. A goblin without a workshop is just a monster that steals things. A goblin with a workshop is a craftsman. I assembled a small fan using an old hard drive motor and scrapped printer blades. When it spun, it sounded like a bee, light, a little noisy.
Does it spin?
Yes.
You made it?
Assembled from scrap parts.
Can you make another one?
You need one?
The one on my desk is broken. It spins slowly.
I'll bring it to you tomorrow. The next day I placed a small fan on her desk, smaller than the one in the basement, quieter. When she turned it on, the blades spun steadily. She watched for a while and didn't say thank you. She said something else.
You're someone who turns waste into things.
That's the Goblin way.
What's that?
The Goblin way is not to create new things, we only reassemble.
Then to you, what are people?
People are another kind of part, just harder to assemble.
Why harder?
Because people don't want to be taken apart. She didn't speak. She placed her hand near the fan, not touching the blades, just feeling the breeze. Then she closed the door and left. The fan kept spinning. The first custom order came, not from a colleague, from a security guard.
Grin, what are you doing here?
Organizing old equipment.
Word's going around, you're recycling things.
Who's spreading it?
Lisa, she said you're someone who reassembles things.
What do you need? My watch strap is broken. It's old. Can't find a replacement.
Leave the watch here. Come get it tomorrow morning.
You can really fix it?
Yes.
The next morning the watch sat on the basement table, cut from discarded leather bag trimmed to size, the edges smoothed with an old lighter flint. It fit a bit snug gap. When he put it on, the old buckle slid perfectly into its original hole, as if it had never broken. Where'd you find the leather?
Old leather bag. Sat in the warehouse for 5 years.
You took it apart? Took it apart. He looked down at the watch. His thumb traced the strap gently. There was an old crease there, exactly where his original strap had worn. Grin. If you ever need anything, just say the word. He didn't say thank you, but his hand paused at the edge of his pocket for one beat. Something heavier than thank you. The quarterly audit came. 4 auditors, all in suits, all with laptops, all wearing expressions that said I'm going to find something wrong. In the conference room, Anderson sat at the head of the long table, I sat in the corner, and Lisa sat next to me.
We've noticed your company's profit has risen significantly over the last 2 quarters. The cost structure has changed considerably. What's the basis for these adjustments?
We reclassified the expenditures.
Reclassified.
Travel allowance removed from operate expenses to employee benefits, because they're for employees, not for business operations.
So you didn't reduce expenditures, you just moved them?
Yes.
This isn't a violation.
It's not a violation, it's reassembly.
We'll continue reviewing.
Grin, you said reassembly.
Yes.
The auditors will be suspicious.
Suspicious of what?
Suspicious that you're someone who takes things apart and puts them back together.
That's not me. That's financial optimization.
Then keep optimizing. But don't let them see how you put it together. He left. I stood there, feeling the weight in his last words, not a threat, but protection. He was telling me in his own way, I trust you, so I want you to be safe. In the 3rd month, I assembled my first true creation, a small printer, made from parts of 3 old printers. The casing was patchwork, and on the back, taped to it, was a label assembled by Grin Smith in the basement.
It can actually print?
Yes. The text is a little crooked, but readable.
Why did you put together a printer?
To prove that assembled things can also be useful. She walked over and of different colored plastic joined together with a thin seam at the joint, but smooth to the touch.
It's never been dropped?
It's assembled, so it's never been dropped. It was never whole in the first place, so it won't suddenly break.
That's like you.
What?
You're assembled too, so you won't suddenly break.
She left without waiting for a reply. I stood a hand still resting on its side. As it ran, a faint vibration passed through the machine in my palm. That was warmth only assembled things have, neither hot nor cold, but present. I looked down at my fingers. They were vibrating too, trembling at the same frequency as the thing I had assembled. In the 2nd quarter, I started building a parts black market. Not a market. A table in the basement with sorted parts, paper clips, staples, old mice, discarded hard drives, but in exchange. Next to it was a price list. 1 old mouse for 3 staplers, 1 discarded keyboard for a used fan. The news didn't spread officially, but Tom told the janitor told the receptionist, and the receptionist told a marketing intern. Soon, people started knocking. Not for me. For the parts. What do you need?
A fan.
Do you have an old stapler?
Yes, it jams.
Bring it. Exchange for a fan.
It's so quiet.
Because it's assembled from old parts. After she left, I looked at the old stapler on the table. When the spring popped out, it dinged, short, like a single syllable. That was my first transaction in the human world. No money, but I got some, keep reassembling. That stapler spring now sits in a sorting box, with other springs. They don't speak, but they exchange too. The parts black market started growing. I put parts into discarded file boxes with labels that real trades happen after work. People went around the door at the end of the hallway and came down to the basement. Receptionists, janitors, security guards, occasionally an IT engineer. They brought their own parts, and took what they needed. Do you have anything extra?
It's an exchange system, not a marketplace.
What's the difference between exchange and transaction?
Exchange is when you have something I need, we swap. Transaction is when something and I give money.
I don't need money.
What do you need?
I need parts, as many as possible.
Why do you need so many?
Because I'm learning. Learning how you use things. Twisting, tapping, pressing. The more I collect, the better I understand how you use this world.
So what do they say?
They say, you threw them away before they were empty.
We didn't know could still be used.
You didn't know. I do. She left. That night I sat at the workbench for long, still usable. I could feel a faint charge it, like a person who still had words left to say. I put the battery into old radio. The casing was cracked, the antenna broken. It took me 3 days to fix it. When it started speaking again, it picked up a distant radio signal, playing old songs, a hoarse voice but clear. I placed the radio on the basement shelf. No one had asked me to fix it, but it was there. It could still see signals. Then one day the janitor passed the basement entrance and stopped. She heard the song coming from the radio, a very old song. She stood at the door for a long time, not coming in. When I stepped out, she was already gone, but where she had stood there was a small damp mark on the floor. Maybe water from a mop, maybe something else. Anderson started getting suspicious, not because of the books, because of the stapler. The old stapler on his desk had been taken apart and put back than before. When he opened the drawer to check, his finger lingered at the joint for an extra beat. Grin, come in. Yes? You fixed my stapler?
Took it apart, didn't fix it.
Why did you take it apart? I wanted to see how it works on the inside. It's just a stapler. Not to me. It's made of parts. Springs, staple trays, press plates, and iron sheets. They worked together for 3 years, then were forgotten. But every single part can still work, as long as it's reassembled. Grin, what exactly are you? I'm the one who makes your reports look good.
That's your answer?
That's the answer you need. He closed the drawer, didn't press further.
But that night, when I returned to the basement, the lock had been changed. He had moved from suspicion to observations either stop you in the end, or they join you.
The basement lock was changed twice, first to a regular lock, then to a combination lock. Each time I take it apart, reset it, restore it. Anderson wouldn't notice the tiny scratch inside the keyhole, but I knew he was testing whether I truly needed that door. One night, I assembled a new fan. The door was pushed open gently. Not Anderson.
Grin, you're still doing this?
Yes,
Anderson is looking into you. He changed the lock.
I know.
Then why are you still here?
Because there are still many parts here.
What if he doesn't let you come back?
Then I'll move the workshop somewhere else. Parts will find me.
I'll help you.
You'll help me?
I can help you put some parts in my locker. He won't check my locker.
Aren't you afraid of getting implicated?
Yes, but you're the only person who makes things better instead of worse.
I took parts apart.
But you put them back together, and they still work.
She sat under the old makeshift desk lamp, the light dim but enough to see her outline. She reached out and took the box of old mice. As her fingers touched the edge of the box, she paused like she was listening to what it was saying. As she took it, her finger paused on the lid for 1 beat. It was a 1-second touch. For her, 1 second. For me, the length of an entire sentence. Lisa's locker became the second warehouse. Every day before leaving work, she would put newly collected parts into the locker, label them with source and date. Her handwriting was clear, neat, every stroke steady. Like her, I stuck a tiny note on her locker door, with 1 word written in Goblin. She couldn't read it, but the next day she stuck a translation underneath. Thank you. But that afternoon, when I passed her desk, I saw that she had tucked the translated note into the front page of her notebook. Not collecting. Remembering. In the corner of the basement, request notes began to appear. Not messages, short sentences written on old sticky notes. Have a small screwdriver, no signature. Sorted notes by date and content, keeping them in an old shoebox. Those notes were requests and trust. I fixed the earphones. I rejoined the broken wires with fine copper wire, wrapped them in heat shrink tubing, and heated it with a lighter. Shrunked it tight. Next to the small flower, I replied in pencil, fixed in the basement. The next day, the earphones were taken. In the shoebox, there's an extra, silver, with slight wear on the edges taken from a piece clothing still in use. Been left behind as an exchange, not a price, a confirmation that someone cared. I placed that button in a separate box, no number. Because some things shouldn't be categorized. The second quarter report once again exceeded expectations. First half profit, up 47% from the same period last year. This achievement couldn't have happened without the finance department, especially Grin. Keep it up. Everyone looked at me. I sat by the window, sunlight hitting me, the foundation warming on my skin, edges starting to peel slightly. No one noticed my skin. They were looking at a person who can produce beautiful reports. That afternoon, as Lisa passed my desk, she placed a note in front of me.
Are you okay?
Why do you ask?
Because you're glowing today.
That's not glowing, that's the foundation melting. She read the note and didn't reply. But I saw her fold it and put it in her drawer, not throwing it away, but keeping it. Her fingers pressed the crease twice before she closed the drawer. Late one weekend night, I was alone in the basement. No new parts, no notes. Only the old radio, still broadcasting signals, hoary and repetitive. I sat on the floor, my back against the sorting frame. I took apart my own height-increasing insoles. The edge of the left one was worn, exposing the old fabric stuffing inside. It was from home, stitched in 3 layers, worn for 3 years. I suddenly realized I was also an assembled thing. A fake degree, height-increasing insoles, foundation, writing ledges in Goblin, trading paper coins for staplers. Each one was a part, and now I am sitting in the basement, surrounded by these parts. I wasn't collecting them. They helped me remember who I was. I sewed it back together. The stitches were crooked, but tight enough. Then I put it on, stood up, and was tall again. The parts black market kept expanding. New sections appeared on the whiteboard. Available parts and wanted parts. Anyone who came into the basement could write down what they needed and what they could offer. That whiteboard later accumulated many different handwritings. Fine ballpoint pen, thick marker, light pencil strokes. One line was from Lisa. Below it was another line. Fine grin. No signature, but I recognized it. Tom, the watch repairer. He was pointing the way for me. After Anderson's electronic lock had been reset so many times, he finally did one thing. Not changing a lock. He installed a motion sensor light at the basement stairway. From that day on, when I swiped my card, the light would turn on. Not to light my way, but to tell him someone was here. He knew I came in. He chose to keep the light on. That was silent permission. The kind that didn't need to be spoken or signed. The moment I swiped and the light came on, it fell across the old table, illuminating the labels on the sorting boxes. I stood there, bathed in light. For the first time, I felt that light didn't have to be a threat. I added a new line to the whiteboard. Parts exchange rules. 1. Bring one, take one. Don't take more. 3. Don't damage. 4. If you don't know what a part can be used for, leave it alone. That set of rules was copied onto many sticky notes on the side of the fire extinguisher cabinet, the break room fridge door, next to the elevator buttons. One day Anderson was walking down the hallway and saw the note on the fire cabinet. He stopped and read through the rules, then tore it down, but he didn't throw it away. He folded and put it in his pocket. I started training assistants. The first was Tom. He had started bringing broken off equipment to the basement door instead of throwing it in the trash. On the outside of each bag was a note. Keep what can be used. What can't, you decide. The second was Lisa. She would stay 20 minutes after work to help me sort by material. Iron in one pile, plastic in another, wires in a third. Her sorting method was more meticulous than mine. I didn't correct her. Because when it comes to arrangement, there's more than one right way. The third was Emily, an intern. She came because she wanted to fix an old radio. She spent 4 days in the basement learning to solder and test circuits. Before she left, she said one thing.
So old things don't need to be thrown away. They just need someone willing to fix them. Yes.
Is it the same for people?
People are the same. Then are you someone willing to fix people?
I'm willing to try. I thought about it.
Then I'm willing to try too.
A box of old motherboards arrived at the basement door. No label, no source, just sitting there. I opened it and checked. 15 old motherboards of different models. Some warped, but 6 of them had intact capacitors. It can be revived. I tested the first one. 3 seconds of power, the indicator light came on. I took it apart and sorted all the motherboards. Capacitors, resistors, heat seeds, slots, each went into its own box. When I finished the last one, I found a note taped to the inside of the box. These motherboards came from a batch of scrapped equipment. I knew you'd use them. A. Anderson. He had sent them. That wasn't permission, it was joining. I held that note and sat at the workbench for a long time without speaking. The paper was old, he had torn it from some stack of documents. He'd written that A deliberately, not his full name. That was how he wanted to be remembered, not as a boss, but as a participant. The week after Anderson's note, I drew a circle on the floor with chalk. Inside it was written, Warehouse No. 3.
Where's that supposed to be?
Not decided yet, but there will be a need eventually.
You plan to turn the whole building into a parts warehouse?
It's not a plan. It's already happening.
She stood beside the chalk line, took a look.
Then I can help you claim a spot, the storage room on the west side of the 5th floor, empty, locked for 3 years.
The key?
I have it, from the spare key cabinet.
Will you open it for me?
I already opened it. The lock has been changed and the key is with me. You can go in any time.
She left without waiting for my reply. But later I went to the west side of the 5th floor and the door was open. Inside was an old table, an empty metal shelf, and a small window, no glass, just iron bars. That room wasn't marked on any floor plan. Those rooms are non-existent, even when their doors are open.
Scrap them. Not worth repairing.
Winter. A power surge fried 6 monitors. Send them to the basement.
Can you fix them?
Not sure if they'll be fully fixed, but can take them apart first. 3 days later, the parts from those monitors entered inventory. I took out one backlight board, connected it to an old power harcord, and retested. The lamp lit up, uneven in brightness, but it could still emit light. I placed that repaired monitor at the basement bed entrance, with a note beside it. Usable, slightly dim, but doesn't affect reading. 3 days later, it was gone. Not logged, not exchanged, just taken. The next day I saw that monitor on the break room table, screen on, displaying a blank document. The cursor was blinking. Someone was using it. Grin, why do you do all this?
So things don't disappear.
They would disappear anyway.
But it can be slower.
He was silent for a moment. Did you go to work today?
Yes.
The financial reports?
Done. Using that assembled computer.
He looked at me, then he did one thing. He pulled a paperclip from his placed it on the table. Not new, old, rusted at the edges, already bent.
Tom said you'd take it.
I will.
What would you like it to become?
It doesn't need to become anything. It has its own purpose.
That was the closest we ever came to a real conversation. Not about reports, not about accounts. It was a bent paperclip that made a person say, "It doesn't need to become anything." In the spring of the second year, I received a formal training invitation, not a task from Anderson, an internal meeting jointly by finance, reception, IT, and security, hoping I would talk about the parts recycling process. The venue, the basement, because the meeting room was too small for everyone. On the training day, 23 people showed up. They stood between the part shelves, sat on old printer boxes, leaned against the workstep. No conference table, no slides. I won't teach you how to fix things. I'll teach you how to read parts.
Read parts?
Every part records how it was used, the direction of wear, the edge of the break, the point of deformation. That's its language. You don't need to understand everything, just need to hear it say I can still be used. Someone held up an old stapler. What does this one say? I took it, opened the casing and pulled out the spring. Its spring can still be pressed 3,000 times, but its staple tray is distorted. You'll need to replace it. Take one from another old stapler. I looked up at the person. It's waiting for you to act. On Anderson's contract renewal for me there was an extra line. Annual evaluation. His methods cannot be fully replicated, but his approach can be transmitted. As he read it to me, his eyes never left the paper. His finger traced lightly under that line.
Grin, do you know why I kept you? Because I saved costs. That's the surface reason. What's the real reason? Because I've seen many accountants. They can make numbers look good, but you're the only one who actually makes the numbers smaller, not truly making them wider. Because I take things apart. You take apart, but you don't make things disappear. You just turn them into something else.
He stood up and left the contract on the table. As he reached the door, he paused one step, without looking back, but he pulled the old paperclip from his pocket. I had returned it to him. He had bent it into a ring, exactly the same as the one I had bent back then. He left it on the doorboard, hanging there. After he left, I picked up that paperclip ring. It was no longer mine. It had become his. That was proof that he had learned to read parts. A stranger came to the basement door, not for parts, but to leave something. An old wooden box. On the inside of the lid was a note. In my father's old tools. They no longer work, but I feel they should be remembered, not thrown away. I opened the box. 2 old calipers, a small level, an old copper thermometer. They were incomplete, but still there. I didn't take them apart, didn't sort them. I placed them on the top shelf of the tool rack. Lisa saw them later.
You're collecting?
Not collecting. Remembering.
Remembering what?
Remembering that they were once useful.
Then you too. The parts of you that were once useful, they're also remembered here.
I don't belong here.
You're in the basement. You're sitting here. That is belonging.
I crouched in the gap between the shelf and the wall. I gently touched the row of tools. A small patch of cold surface warmed by my fingers. That was the temperature of belonging. Before winter came again, a new workbench appeared in the basement corner, placed by Lisa.
If you're not here, someone can continue.
I'm not here?
Sometimes you go upstairs, sometimes you take leave, sometimes you just need to rest. But if someone is here, The rules won't break.
The rules won't break?
No, because you've already taught them.
On that workbench was a set of old tools, her own. She'd brought them from drivers, needle nose, pliers, test. She said, that way I won't have to borrow from you.
You brought your own?
I learned, not taking apart, participating.
In the second winter I got sick. Not a human illness, a goblin's failure to adapt. The foundation started flaking off in large patches, my hands trembled, and cracks began to appear on my skin. On the third afternoon, someone pushed the door open. Lisa stood at the door, holding a cup.
Andrew asked me to bring this to you. Hot water.
I don't drink hot water.
I know, but he said you might want to hold it.
She came in and placed the cup on the table. She didn't leave. She sat down on the other side of the table, not saying anything. She just sat there. The radiator hummed faintly in the corner. I didn't drink the water, but as I held it, my hands stopped trembling. On the fourth day, I returned to my desk. There was a note on it, from Lisa. Your seat's still empty, but no one is sitting there. I brought that note back to the basement, folded it, and placed it beside us in Anderson's paperclip and ring. On the third autumn, a man walked in the basement. Not for parts, to return something. 3 years ago I traded for a power cord from you. I've been using it ever since. Now I don't need it anymore. I'm bringing it back. Someone else might need it. He placed the power cord on the table. Old, worn, but the connector was intact. There was a very faint crack on its casing. It might have been caught in a drawer edge before. He left without saying anything else. No name. I picked up the power cord. It carried someone's body heat, having been kept in a pocket. That was a temperature of having been used and not disappearing. I placed it into beta-tested box. It hadn't come to trade, it had come home. No one came today. I sat at the workbench, some old parts spread out on the table. The radio was broadcasting a signal from afar, hoary but clear. It was repeating the same frequency, like it was saying, I'm still here. Anderson's paperclip ring still hung on the doorframe, light passing through the metal circle and casting a faint round spot on the floor. It was small, in the corner, but it hadn't been taken down. It was still there, waiting for the next conversation. I picked up an old power cord and checked the connector. The conductor wasn't broken, the casing was worn but intact. It could still be used. I put it into the available box. Someone would need it tomorrow. The photo on the table, Day 356 of the monitor, I flipped it over. On the back, a line had been added later in the black bulletin turned back 3 days later. Someone wanted to see it. Tom had written again. Still him. Time had passed, and he remembered. I turned off the radio, but not the light. The motion sensor light in the basement with a regular switch at some point. Someone had changed the wiring without my knowing. I no longer needed to swipe my card, no longer needed to feel my way in the dark. The light could stay on. I stood up and pushed the chair back under the table. On the sorting shelves all faced outward, paper canes, staplers, springs, wires, each in its place. As I walked out of the basement for the last time, I didn't lock the door, because it wasn't needed anymore. Someone would come. Someone would use it. The light was still on. It would stay on for a long time.